Welcome to Big Red Cats team. I'm here to tell you how to fit bindings. This is super important. First thing that's important is this is not a din sole. It won't fit in most of our skis, except for these ones that have a walk to ride function. A walk to ride function. This is really important because you need to screw this walk to ride function. See how there's a little arrow there? That's currently in the walk to ride mode. But for a boot that has a din sole like this won't go in this now. Now it has to be adjusted back to the alpine setting. That's the alpine setting. You know it's in the alpine setting because the arrow faces to the alpine, and you've also got a yellow indicator bar. So most of the time, 90%, 95% of the time, you have to see that yellow, otherwise it's not fitted correctly. So check that before you start. That's super, super important. Second thing is, you need to understand that the ski boot length is shown on the bottom heel. They're often very difficult to see, but it's in this instep typically. My one shows a ski boot length in millimeters of 338. So now to fit the boots into the skis, I need to work out, firstly, I need to set this to my binding, so I'm setting it to the nearest. Mine was 338, so I'm setting it to the 340 mark. This one, I'm going to set it to the nearest. If I set it to the 344 mark, it's going to be too big. Just a little bit, but watch this. So you can see that this indicator here, this bit of metal, is sticking out past the frame. That means that the forward pressure is not adjusted correctly. So it's very important that that is adjusted correctly. So this needs to come in a little bit. And I'll take this to this 336 line right here. And I'm going to put this boot back in. And you can see we've got that flush now. That's okay. If it's in a bit, that's also okay. But if it's sticking out, the forward pressure is not there and the boot's not going to work properly. So have a look at this chart, team. So if this is setting for me, I'm probably about 5'11", 6 foot, but my weight is probably in this zone. But let's assume that I was 250 pounds. Then I'd fall into this category, but you always go to the more conservative. So I'm going to go back up a step, which will mean lower din settings in total. So I'm at L, and I'm going to go across this sheet till I get to my 335, which is right here. So it says 5.5. 5.5 is my setting if I'm a type 1 skier. If I'm a type 2 skier, I need to go to 6.5. And if I'm a type 3 skier, which I am, I'm going to go to a setting of 8. However, sadly, I'm over 50, and anyone over 50 has to go back one step. So my setting should therefore be 6.5. 6.5. So anyone over 50, 6.5. So the key principles here are the bigger the boot, the lower the din setting. If the person's over 50, we have to go back up one step in this letter table, back up one step in this letter table. If the person's bigger and heavier, then they have a higher din setting. That's pretty obvious. But if there's a difference between their weight and their height, we take the most conservative option, whatever that is. We go back to whatever yields the lowest din setting. So that's really, really important. So next step is to set this to 6.5. So I'm going to move this screwdriver in here, and I'm going to wind this back to 6.5. And you can see this line is moving back as I screw it. That's really important. And I'm just getting to 6.5 right there. On the back, there's also a screw adjustment here. And I'm going back to 6.5. So that one is now set. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the other boot. That's really important. We have a different set of bindings as well that are an older set. We want to have a look at those older sets so that you understand right now how to adjust those. Come and have a look at this, team. This is important. it doesn't have a walk to ride function. So if I'm going to set it to my 338, which is my ski boot length, I go to this blue zone which says 328 to 340. I do that on the other ski as well. And then on the back of the ski, there's another setting here. I'm going to take that to my 338. I'm going to take this other one straight across to my 338. I'm going to put the boot in, set it, and then it's really important that you see there's a little line in that yellow. That line has to be visible. If it's not, the forward pressure is not correct. The forward pressure is not correct. So the other things that are incredibly important with setting skis are we have to put a sticker on with the person's name. Normally we'll use the Sharpie, but in this case I don't have one, so I'm going to put Kieran and I'm going to put the rest of the season. But put the days that you want on. So if the person's skiing for 3 days, put 3 days, the 26th, 27th, and 28th. Put those 3 days on. Put the labels on both skis. Put the labels on both skis. Otherwise, we won't have any idea. The next thing that's most important is once you've set the skis, if they're not using them until the next day, we put them in this rack here for them. They can then choose any set of poles that they like from this rack. We encourage them to use these ones more so because we don't have that many of these adjustable ones. But we want to get the right length. We want to have their arms at about right angle. So this one could be about the right length for me, but I could go one higher. That's how you know. So guys, that's the keys to binding adjustment. If you've got any questions, let me know. It's really important when you've got that table to take a picture of this table with your iPhone so that if you're adjusting skis in the field for the guests, that you get it right. The consequences of getting it wrong are truly terrible. So that's it from me. Good luck with your binding adjustment. We love you. Good work.